out the gate. Monsanto, this time after losing the previous game at the end of the last series in the Quest Shaman mirror, is kicking things off with the Quest Shaman, trying to just snipe a win right out of the gate. It's a very bold strategy, because if you lose your Shaman in game one, you're very unlikely to be able to come back and win the series. But who knows, maybe you can just take down a key aggro deck from your opponent before it gets countered, quote-unquote, by the mirror.
Meanwhile, Gabby is ascending, has upgraded his black beanie to a white beanie. Next, it's going to be like an orange beanie. And then, in the final best of 5 constructed, his beanie's going to be on fire.
It just goes bright blue, and he's an Ultra Instinct beanie. I think that was a Dragon Ball reference. I haven't watched the show.
I haven't either. Why would you make one?
I don't know. I thought that's what we were going for. Like, you know, it gets like headpieces or hair that get more different colors as you power up. That's the point of the show, right? That's what it does. Sorry, Teach.
Disappointed.
Disappointed! Are you disappointed with this starting hand for Monsanto? However, I'm seeing a couple of very strong plays available.
No, this is a very important start. The Lightning Bloom, I think, is going to be crucial, especially in combination with the Overdraft. Obviously, one of the weaknesses of having a Lightning Bloom start is that, you know, it's taking up a card slot in your hand, usually a little bit low on resources, but that's where the guidance is going to be able to come in. I do think Monsanto has the tools to fight through this early game quite well.
It's a weird spot for Gabby, isn't it? Because the Cannoneer is clearly far and away the best body on this turn. A 3-3 against two 2-3s is fantastic. But if he waits one turn and instead goes for the Harbor Scamp plus Shiver Their Timbers this turn, he can then go for draw the weapon with the Cannoneer next turn and then swing with the Hatchet as well after equipping it, which means he gets to fire the cannons and hopefully chew through a couple of these minions that Monsanto will inevitably be playing. And so I really like, in the end, this decision by Gabby to actually hold off on the Cannoneer for a turn and make sure he guarantees himself those cannonballs flying around the screen.
Feels like he's going to need it for that tempo later on, but... Okay. What's the plan here? Because wouldn't he have bloomed first if he was planning on using the bloom this turn anyway?
Correct. I don't know. I think I liked the bloom Molten, right? That seemed pretty good.
Yeah. I did as well. Maybe he wanted to go for that play, but then bailed out and now didn't want to use the Lightning Bloom out of shame.
Yeah. I mean... Ooh. Not necessarily. Saving Bloom while you have Overdraft in hand is incredibly valuable. Like, that's going to buy you a lot of clear potential, which is maybe why he went about it this way. Like, he actually wants to have more Overload capability just so he can unlock it and deal more damage.
Okay. Sure.
Sure.
Sure did.
Right, Thalnos, Bloom, then Overload for 2, so you could go like Molten Blast plus Overdraft to kill off both minions and summon 3 1/1s.
Yeah, I mean, is the Harbor Scamp really super threatening right now? Could you just go
No.
Thalnos plus Molten Blast?
I mean, you could. It's just you have so much removal in hand. Like, I feel like you may as well use it to like protect your 1/1s if you're going to go with that play.
Yeah, I suppose.
I don't know. Like, very clearly, Monsanto is saving this bloom for a specific purpose this game, and as I hypothesized, I do think that's probably the overdraft in the same turn. But the result of these lines of plays, like, again, obviously unlucky to get a 2-2 here as your 3-drop, but regardless of that, the result is that he ends up slowly drip-feeding his minions onto the board rather than making any kind of a real swing. And then, as a result, Gabby's just able to clear up with the cannons and the weapons each turn and consistently stay ahead, leading into Rakara.
That's true. Can't take it too slow. You're just going to run out of essentially mana to be able to deal with the board before you die.
Yeah, right.
Kind of have to stay ahead of things and instead of just completely reacting turn after turn.
Like, look at this board now. The difference between having Thalnos in hand or on board is just worlds apart. And I know the play that I was suggesting last turn involved Thalnos, but just like, I don't know, ending Thalnos on that turn afterwards, it draws him a card, but I guess it was specifically these 4/4s that go wrong for him. Like, I can't begrudge him specifically for that one. It's just unfortunate with how it works out that he has to go for some awkward clears here, which he can do with the overdraft being overloaded for enough here, I think, alongside the Bolt and the Molten Blast. And he has now played all 3 relevant spell schools, I believe, because he played... Did he play Primordial Studies?
Yep, he got the Blood Mage Soundness from the Primordial Studies.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And then Molten Blast was Fire, and then a handful of Nature spells, so it's got that multicaster fully loaded. So that'll at least give him that resource reload.
Gabby looking for just one more Pyra, I think, for that Rakara. Oh no, for Cannonball, sorry. He's only on quest stage 2, given that he played the Morshan Elite last turn. So still actually a little ways off from getting Rakara played. And that means that Monsanto has now plenty of time to catch up. Gets a couple of bad cards off the first one, just wants Overload here to start turboing towards Brucan as soon as possible. And those are a little better. That definitely starts to help him get there.
Yeah. Perpetual Flame could be good. Kind of nice to just have in your back pocket.
Yeah, the problem is that he, unless he top decks exactly Lightning Bloom, is not going to be playing Brucan next turn, which is a big difference. Yeah. It does mean that you have a full extra turn. You have to wait before you can start doubling up on these spells. But that's okay. I think with 5 mana next turn, he can still just go for Multicaster and then Brucan with 1 Overload spell the turn after.
Should be able to still get Brucan at least on par with the Rakara, just to kind of match it, and then do the sparks fly. Pirates versus science.
I mean, that's history. That's pretty much all it is. Galileo versus Blackbeard, a tale as old as time.
Yep.
I think you just jam Multicaster here, because if you hit Bloom specifically, your next play is so strong. You can go Bloom, get Brucan, and then corrupt your Dunk Tank, right? So that you can then go Dunk Tank to almost certainly clear the board, or you could go double Perpetual alongside a Feral Spirits as well. Like, there's just infinity strong plays the next turn, so I really love that Monsanto is digging as hard as he possibly can for this Bloom. He still hasn't found it, but he's guaranteed himself at least Brucan on the following turn. Gabby obviously devastated. He was 1 3-mana or cheaper Pyra away from getting Rakara on this turn. That's almost his entire deck, but he gets one of the worst cards. Again, stuck with a double Rancor hand. This one inclusion in the deck has just been pretty much the only thing hamstringing Gabby so far in all his Pyra Warrior games.
Yeah, it's been a real problem. Which is honestly a big deal, because if Monsanto can get the Brucan down before Rakara comes down, I think that gives a significant advantage, because that's a whole turn where Gabby's going to spend, not gaining like that huge amount of tempo. Gabby, though, still going for a good amount of pressure here. Monsanto down to just 10 life. Has to answer this Mr. Smite. So Gabby's hoping that it can't be board clear plus Brucon potentially this turn. And it has to be something maybe a little bit different.
And it's there. The board clear is available. You can go Bolt, Mr. Smite, trade into the Sword Eater. You'd obviously then get Brucan after playing the Bolt, I believe, and then double Perpetual Flame afterwards, with the effect being copied, I think, guarantees a board clear, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not ideal. It overloads you for a lot, and it also means that you... Well, as a result of that, you don't have much mana to work with this guidance next turn, which is pretty annoying. But I currently just don't see anything better, and I don't think Monsanto does either.
Still gonna have a 7/7 in play, I suppose.
That's good.
This is gonna be overloaded for 5 next turn.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah.
And then a lightning bolt. Okay. It's a dunk tank. Oh, if that had been able to come down last turn.
Yeah, clears off what little he can whilst getting the weapon damage face. Like, again, for Gabby, it's very possibly just lethal next turn. A couple cannons face plus the Sword Eater weapon, if nothing else, will guarantee him the win. But he, of course, needs to get those activations to go face. And Monsanto, now with the Overdraft as a fantastic top deck here, has plenty of ways to put a whole bunch of minions on the board and therefore distract those cannons from going face.
And gets to squeeze in a little bit more here as well. That's exactly 7 overdraft.
Oh, look at that.
And then can go for some nice little reload here.
Is he going Note Taker plus Guidance? That feels a little greedy. I don't think you need to go for that. Like, go for
You're
Guidance.
already getting 4 spells from the first Guidance.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah. Like,
do you
hope
really
that
need
you get
8?
Like, you get Charged Call or Tidal Surge, and then you copy that instead, I think is very smart. And that's exactly what Monsanto can do now, right? Next turn, he could heal for up to 16 if he wanted to, with Note Taker plus Tidal Surge. But even that, he says, is a little bit too greedy. Just decides to heal up for 8 immediately, and a pretty unassailable 15 health. This definitely feels, again, like Gabby is just in a spot where quest is completed, yes, but quest completion for Pirate Warrior just cannot keep up with a lot of the other mid-rangey decks in this metagame. Like Paladin, the taunts are just too efficient. Shaman, obviously doubling down on spells, is too efficient. And a couple of cannonballs and a weapon each turn. Like, that's good, but it's not game-winning on its own.
Yeah. Just not enough.
Oh, there it is. That's the one.
The big beaver. And this should be the end of the game here quite shortly.
There it is. Concede from Gabby. Doesn't even think it's worth playing out at the end there. He was just dead. No chance at salvation at all. And Gabby throws it down. That's going to be the win right out the gate, as we expected for Shaman. Again, it's just unbeatable in this format. It's good against literally everything left over, which means, are they going to try something else, or is it just Bunny Hopper's chance to flex his knowledge of the matchup and just go straight for the mirror?
I think it's going to be straight for the mirror, to be quite honest. I think that Bunny Hopper's probably got the confidence to be able to do it. I don't think he can just throw a bunch of fodder to this Quest Shaman and hope to get that across the board. So, big win to start things off. And one of my favorite things about watching Monsanto win is that, like, the cheeky smile right at the end. It goes to his camera. He knows he's on camera. He's trying as hard as he possibly can to not smile, but it just sneaks through. Sticking to himself, oh, I'm so good. Everybody, Come look how good I am.
The one
He said
time
all
I've
that
seen,
with a small smile.
yeah, the one time I've seen Monsanto not smile is, of course, the legendary moment that Lurinda and I often reminisce about, where, I mean, I'm sure it wasn't so fun for him. He came to the tour stop in Oslo, flying across the world from Canada to get there. And then upon realizing at the morning of the tournament, he'd forgotten to register, and therefore just walked around the venue looking directly at the ground for the entirety of the tournament. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. And as bad as I did feel for him, God, it was just hysterical.
That one situation that he found himself in perfectly describes Monsanto as a human being. He's just so incredibly good at one specific thing.
It's like,
and I'll just leave it at that.
he couldn't even, like, when the deck lists were available, it's like, how do I extract a zip folder? Never mind, my girlfriend did it for me. Like, I can't even get the deck list for the tournament. But specifically playing Hearthstone, he's almost unrivaled. This very specific thing, he is an absolute god.
Sometimes you wonder, how did he even make it this far? Not in this tournament, just in
On
life.
a hat and a wish.
On a hat and a wish. That's right. But we're going to be seeing him again, and I fully imagine, like we mentioned, we're going to be seeing the Quest Shaman Mira. I don't think this is any room to try and get creative. We've seen time and time again with, you know, the Rogue, Mage, Warlock, Demon Hunter all banned away, that there's just not anything reasonable to counter this Quest Shaman. It's such a weird situation that this metagame has brought upon us, right? Where Quest Shaman is not a deck that's been feared for, I mean, I'd say quite some time.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden it's like, oh my god, it's the best deck.
I can't believe it. Yeah, I mean, it's just what happens, right? This is Hearthstone when combo doesn't exist. It's just what's the greediest you can get away with whilst also beating aggro. Like, it does everything at once. That, like, it can't pressure especially quickly, which is why it loses to combo, but it has infinite generation, huge amounts of heal, incredibly strong tempo plays in the early game when compared to aggro. Like, they're usually fairly defensive and in terms of locking down board rather than necessarily getting a huge amount of attack power in play. But against aggro, that just locks it down. And if you know what you're doing, as I believe both Monsanto and Bunny Hopper do, you are nigh on unstoppable. So let's see how this is going to shake out for the most important game of the series, undeniably the Shaman Mirror.
All right. I'd say pretty good, but quite different opening hands for both players. Monsanto obviously has the Bloom. Instructor Fireheart can be quite potent. Maybe not so much early on in the game, but later. So he's got these opportunities for these explosive plays to start things off. Bunny Hopper definitely has like this significant resource advantage with both guidance and multicast in the opening hand.
Yeah.
So can plan around being a little bit more aggressive with his resources, knowing that he has that refill.
Man, it's such a weird choice for Bunny Hopper. Like, in terms of the mana you want to spend next turn, I could very much see him going for Perpetual Flame on like one minion next turn if just say a Wand Maker or a Note Taker is played, just to get the fire part played for the multicaster. But then what are you doing? Like, if you go Guidance this turn, Flame next turn if you want to be optimistic, then you're still a turn away from playing the multicaster, so it doesn't really work out actually if you're playing your spells. And so I do agree in the end with the hero power here. Maybe you can find some more efficient way to deal with your overload, because right there it wasn't doing much.
Yeah. Slogger. Actually, the first time we've seen the Slogger in this series thus far. It's not even in Europe's list, right? They play the Cookie. Well, I mean, it depends what you want to say replaces it, right? Could be any of the changes in cards because they have quite a few with some of the new tools that have been added.
Yeah. I think cookie's reasonable.
Okay. Well, a cookie replaced it then. There you go. We'll just leave it at that. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about this Serpent Shrine portal. Again, as I've said a few times, on turn 3 it very often ends up being Serpent Shrine Tennis. So you don't usually want to go Serpent Shrine first and allow your opponent to Serpent Shrine your 3-drop. But Bunny Hopper gets a 4 health 3-drop anyway, which of course then denies the clean kill in response. Monsanto with a couple of other options, though he hasn't overloaded at all yet, so quest completion this turn is a little tricky, and instead just going with the Slogger. Yeah, nice and clean.
Yeah.
And so I think
this
now
is a little bit awkward.
It's just flame, right? It's a fire spell
Yeah.
played. Completes
It's a
quest.
fire spell played, but it's just not that valuable of a flame, right? But I guess
Yes.
everything else that it does, like you said, adding the fire spell to the mix, completing the quest, can't really get into a situation where you're too greedy. Right? I like the patience that a lot of players have shown in quest shaman, but there's a fine line between patience and just straight up greed.
Okay. Tempo 1-drop as well. I guess progressing the quest and the fact that you're unlikely to spend that extra 1 mana next turn is a good a time as any to slot it in. He doesn't have any cards that especially benefit off of the extra spell damage, because I think 3 and 4 damage respectively, or 4 and 6 if you want to look at it that way from the Storm Strike and the Tidal Surge, should be able to deal with anything that Monsanto plays in the near future.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's not too aggressive to go for Note Taker plus Bolt on this turn, right? It doesn't complete the quest so far as I can tell. So next turn you can go Bloom to complete the quest. And I actually potentially see it as Bloom plus Fireheart next turn, because you're going to have 7 mana to work with after the mana is unlocked. Which is quite a lot, especially if Bunny Hopper makes a play for the board this turn, which he clearly will.
Yeah. Some solid pickups from the multicaster. Obviously, Lightning Bloom great when you're still trying to figure out these turns, especially like trying to accelerate that Brucon completion.
Now I think another avenue has opened up for Monsanto. You can trade into the multicaster, Perpetual Flame, which is then a fire spell played, completes quest, which then leaves you with 4 mana. Oh no, sorry, 3 mana available. Okay, I was going to say you could go multicaster afterwards, but that's a little bit less clean because of it, and therefore, I mean, you could still theoretically go like Bloom, Bolt, Perpetual Flame, Multicaster, and then next turn for the 3 overloaded crystals, you then have an overload, to deal with those. Okay, he is basically going for that here, I think.
Yeah, just in a different order than what you said.
Yeah.
That's okay, Derek. You don't have to feel bad about it.
Thanks, TJ. Yeah, I like this play a lot. Oh, that parrot is so good.
It's a multicaster again.
Yep. The turn before you started playing One Makers as well. Like, it's perfectly timed. I would much rather 2 cards from my deck than a random 1-cost spell.
Yeah. Well.
Oh, wow, okay. Very interesting. Wow, Bunny just straight up would rather have a 1-mana spell. I'm surprised. I mean, I trust him 100%. I'm very happily willing to admit that I'm wrong, but I'm still surprised.
I wonder if he realizes that he has 1-mana spells in his deck.
I mean, I almost think from the shake of his head, if he didn't,
I think that was a mistake.
realize
I think
that
he
would
just didn't
happen.
realize that it was there. Yeah,
like, I don't know. I don't know if that's unfair to him to say that, but again, it does just, yeah. I from his reaction, I think that was just a mistake.
yeah. I think he wanted the proper sequencing would be to see what information I have with this wand maker here before I draw the cards from my deck. But not realizing that that's how he draws the cards from his deck. Yeah, well, this is not as big of a resource advantage as Bunny Hopper could have in this situation.
Not at all.
Also has the Instructor Fireheart as well. That's a card that I think you can be greedy with for as long as you please. Like post-Brew Con, Instructor Fireheart just becomes absolutely insane.
Yeah, exactly. As long as Monsanto doesn't leave himself too overloaded at any point, whenever he wants to now, he can just go for Fireheart and probably swing back almost any board. Especially when he starts getting up to like 5 or 6 mana spare.
Yep. Well, with this hand, unless the spell off the top is quite good for Monsanto, probably looking at an Instructor Fireheart next turn to try and get the last bit of overload that he needs in order to get that Bracon down.
Okay, Zapper, good.
Yep.
Stormstrike is a very efficient clear on this turn. Just to be able to kill off 2 of these minions. It's obviously unfortunate that you can't take a VT with the Parrot on either of the others. But I don't really see anything better unless it's a charged call turn here. Which doesn't really feel worth it. I think you'd rather be a little bit more ahead on board before you're using your big minion, even if it's an 8-drop with the Novice Zapper.
Yeah. Okay. Ooh. I just don't think it's reason to go face there. Maybe thinking about whether or not to put the Novice Zapper, but I think that's sort of pointless as well.
Yeah. Agreed completely.
Ooh. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's just Instructor Fireheart. I was thinking, like, maybe you get Guidance?
Right, exactly. Yeah, you can risk it if you want, but just chaining 1-mana spells is almost always better off of Fireheart. You don't need to use it for removal. You can just use it as value generation as long as you don't get complete garbage. And that is not complete garbage. That is a random 8-drop for Monsanto. Ooh. And Alakir is looking pretty spicy. Maddest Bomber, honestly, is not looking bad either here.
Yeah.
Oh,
let's go for the immediate damage.
Wind Fury as well. I bet he wishes he kicked the Maddest Bomber now.
Yeah. I still think you want to take the immediate damage. It's very likely that this gets cleared off in some capacity. Well, maybe not very likely. It is pretty resilient, but could be cleared off in some capacity. And then you wish you hadn't taken it. So that's pretty good. Monsanto does have... no, he's going to be overloaded for 1 next turn, so doesn't have the option to complete quests with just what's in hand, but would just be 1 overload card away. So quite close regardless.
Well, 2 revolves. You could take your luck and hope to end up with Natalie Celine, I guess, or one of the other lower impact 8-drops. But of course, things can go very wrong if you hit one of the better ones.
Yeah, that's a little bit too spicy for me.
What else is there, though? Like, As it currently stands, he's posed to take at least another 6 from that Alakir next turn, and who knows, maybe there's a rock biter weapon in hand.
Yeah, but if there's not, on average, you're looking at just straight up more damage from whatever he would revolve into.
Not wrong.
Even if you count the Wind Fury already with 6 damage, I mean, maybe it won't have Divine Shield, sure, maybe you get Natalie Celine, but
maybe not.
There's been a few of 8 drops added. We saw 2 of them there with Sneeds and Mantis Bomber, so the pool is a little bit wider for not hitting Natalie Celine. It's a little bit better.
So 2 overload spells away currently from Monsanto from getting Brucan online, which means it could be... How much now? Note Taker Bolt would allow him to have 7 mana next turn, so he couldn't go Brucan plus double Feral Spirits is kind of the annoying part. In which case, you're probably more incentivized to just go Feral Spirits here instead then.
Yeah. The next turn would have 8, so could go Brucan. I guess investment opportunity now that he's picked that up from the Wand Maker.
Yeah. I mean, you'd have to start with Bolt, right? Because I think he's still 2 away from completing the quest.
Yeah. You start with
yes,
Bolt
sorry.
and then Brucan plus investment opportunity.
Sure.
Ooh, okay.
I mean,
guess,
yeah, you...
this has incentive because it kills off spell damage minion on the other side instead of
That's
just
true.
Feral Spirits and letting Bunny Hopper have a turn of essentially free. Aw.
Ooh,
I guess I gotta play Cookie. Blasphemy.
Alright, so he's currently summoning 8 mana minions, I believe, because he's at 1 out of 3 on the quest.
Yep.
In which case, I think you'd probably rather that than 9. Like, there's obviously a couple of really good 9 drops, but overall the 8s are just going to be a little bit more impactful. So I think you start with that, and then you can go with the Tidal Surge at the end. Arcane Devourer is spicy. You can only buff it once, because obviously the Revolve is just going to change it anyway. But that's still good.
Yeah, still good. It becomes
Very
a must-kill target. Obviously, Monsanto doesn't know that there's not really much follow-up to it, but...
Yeah.
And this... Well, maybe he can pinpoint these as revolves. The first revolve was from
They're both
Wand
Wand
Maker.
Maker.
Are you sure?
No, but I think so.
Okay. I thought he had only played one Wand Maker.
No, he had 2 Wand Makers in hand, and they're both not there.
Okay. I thought Monsanto was the one with the 2 Wand Makers. Okay, you're right. Well, that makes Monsanto's information really easy, because what other 1-mana spells would you not play in that instance?
Right, not many.
Besides Revolve, so...
Yeah, it's just all of them, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cool, that is pretty unlucky when you frame it like that. Literally every other 1-cost spell is playable, and
Yeah.
just the 2 straight garbage ones.
Yeah, Guidance, Investment Opportunity, Lightning Bolt, Overdraft. I guess Overdraft might not be, but it would at least be
Studies, like-
traded over Totem.
Exactly, yeah, just everything is good.
Yeah. Alright. This is a Brucan coming down. Perfect mana expenditure. Huge follow-up for Monsanto as well.
Oh, but it's a
And Bunny
Devourer
Hopper
that
needs some
survives the
help.
turn.
Yeah, but he has nothing. He has absolutely nothing.
Off the top, Fireheart. Let's go. Oh, that's not bad. He can get Brucan in hand. Okay, avoid the Brucan.
Okay, good. Good.
Oh,
Good.
oh.
Good. Oh!
So close, and I think that's just going to do it now, right? He has to end with
Yeah.
Revolve, because otherwise he's just dead to a Bolt or a Serpent Shrine, right? It's just straight up 6 damage that ends the game.
Yeah. He knows there's a bolt in hand because that's the Diligent Note Taker bolt.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
The Chandler is not too good here, unless, of course, Perpetual Flame can be found.
Start with investment opportunity, see what the pickup is. Okay.
All right. That's it. He's now a hair away from lethal, right? He goes hair, rushes in, and then he has 12 damage. Oh, is it just lethal?
Lethal
Oh, it's just lethal.
Yeah, Stormstrike, Serpent Shrine. Yeah, because the Stormstrike kills the top minion, or Lightning Bolt, whichever one, and the spell damage makes it more. Actually, a ton of overkill as well. Because that's 6 plus 8, which is the 14, which is all I needed, plus the attack. And there you go. Monsanto takes the Quest Shaman Mirror, and that's a huge deal, being 2-0 up in the series. And not many answers for Team Europe to try and go against it. He's trying not to smile. Don't smile. Don't smile. Stay calm. Been here before. All right.
Be the hat.
Got past it.
Be the hat. Don't smile.
And a 1-point cushion in constructed would be pretty good for Americas.
Yeah.
I think that it's hard to say who'd be favored in Mercenaries. I do feel like Tyson Hunter-Race have been doing quite well, but I also know that both Europe and Americas in Mercenaries have been plagued with a ton of connectivity issues.
Yeah.
And that has probably affected their results, their play, their sleep, what have you. So I don't think we've gotten a full good look at both of those teams in Mercenaries yet. But Americas should definitely be favored in the Battlegrounds portion, given their performances thus far over the course of the week. So even just splitting with Europe in this constructed portion, I think would be a big success.
Yeah, exactly. Americas literally need 1 point over the entirety of Mercenaries and Constructed for it to go to Battlegrounds. It has to be a 4-0 for Europe, and if that happens, then I'm pretty sure the Battlegrounds just doesn't happen, and they're declared the winners. Or at the very least, it won't matter in terms of the final result, because Europe would be guaranteed the win already at 4 points. It looks currently, of course, like Americas are going to be able to get that point. Monsanto doing God's work on this Shaman. And it all comes down now to Baby Bear to try and get the 3-0 sweep with whatever she wants to counter the Shaman. Decks remaining, the Shaman's down, the Pirate Warrior's down, and so Europe have their choice between Control Priest, Libram Paladin, Face Hunter, and Aggro Druid. 4 decks left to choose from. And so we've got really the 3 of the big archetypes in Hearthstone represented. We've got Control, obviously, with the Priest. I don't think that's going to work. You just get outvalued by the Quest Shaman. They got kind of mid-rangey with the Paladin. That hasn't looked all too good so far. You just lose to Brucan when that comes down. And then you got Aggro with the Face Hunter or the Aggro Druid. I would guess that it would be the Druid, just because that's been what Baby Bear felt like she's most comfortable on so far. But she is relying on the middle of the road, the Paladin, the jack of all trades left in this format, just to give her the best chance of getting a 3-0 sweep.
All right. Jack of all trades, master of none, though, is what the Libram Paladin has seemed to fall into, if we're categorizing decks here. But, you know, there are those windows of opportunity where Libram Paladin can take some wins. It does require a pretty hefty start. And with double Bannerman, this is pretty hefty. Obviously, the Lady Liadrin, Baby Bear would hope that would be literally any other card in the deck. But having the big buffs, big draw early on in the game, Blade Master Samurai for comeback, a 1-drop to kick things off. Not too shabby.
There's some heft here. This is a thick opening for the Paladin right now. 1 coin 3/3, and then that would be a 3-attack Samuro, which is pretty perfect against most of Shaman's minions. That's going to clear off the wolves, most things off of the Serpentine portal, novice zappers, whatever you may need. And then as long as she can find the mid game, which probably she will with the 2 cards that she can draw, it's go time. Baby Bear can very much get there with this hand.
不是你选择魔杖，傻蛋。
Make here a nice pickup. Otherwise,
Oh!
Monsanto would have had a quite soldier. God, it's again. The nuttiest of nuts.
还好吧，不是很重。
Para, okay, the signature tech for Europe and China, I believe, with both Americas and APAC not favoring the Parrot. But it's just looked very, very powerful so far. Like, if Bunny Hopper can curve into, as we were talking about, the big Librams of Hope, a Parrot alongside that just locks out the game in Paladin's favor. But for Shaman on the other side, well, we've been focusing on Baby Bear. Look at this start for Monsanto as well, right? You just got Overload, 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 quest completed, a card drawn minimum for the multicaster, and then a real good chance that you can find Fire or Arcane off of the draws or the guidance, and then Monsanto's off to the races.
Yep. This mid game is going to be pretty explosive, though. Baby Bear does have Blade Master Samuro. It's just a turn 4 play, right? Hoping that there's an excuse to play it on the board, I suppose, and then into Aldor Trueseeker. Really needs to find some spells, I think, is the biggest thing right now, to try and get the Devout Pupil cheaper, to get that tempoed out since it is double buffed. Actually, no, it's not double buffed because it was picked up before the Bannerman was played, because the Squawker was the first minion. Oh, no, but it was in the hand. Yeah, it is double buffed.
Yes,
so to try and get that down with for a little more big tempo swings.
So now for Monsanto, this multicaster is drawing 2. But at the same time, I kind of want to cast the Portal on this turn, right? It allows you to clear off a minion. You can still go for the the multicaster next turn. And this turn, just go Portal plus Investment Opportunity, curving into 4 mana for the multicaster next turn.
Yeah. Monsanto was torn too, but channeled the hat. The hat told him, hey, Derek said Serpent Charm Portal. He's like, oh, well, Derek said it.
My favorite caster, the best player in Asia Pacific. He's got to be right.
Yep.
Yeah, 1 play available on this turn for Baby Bears. I mean, so far, with this 1, 2, 3, 4 curve, it's been perfect every single turn. Like, you really couldn't ask for anything better than this for Baby Bear. The only thing missing is, of course, the Librams of Wisdom, or Librams of Hope, I guess, in order to synergize with, oh, there you go, the Truth Seeker, and, of course, these Devout Pupils.
And this works out incredibly well.
Oh, yeah.
Baby Bear can take the value trade with the Libram of Wisdom of the multicaster on board. Have a nice, healthy board lead. Does have the option of deviating a little bit. Obviously, Squawker, fantastic with Libram of Hope once you get there, but could just use it to get another Libram of Wisdom.
Ooh, we're very happy to take a torrent here.
Oh, are we?
We are. Looking for Zapper here, because that would then allow you to play it and then kill off the Samuro with your remaining overdraft. Misses, however, which is pretty rough. This turn gets a lot weaker now that you can't kill off the Samuro. Your entire board guaranteed to be wiped, and presumably going to have to rely on the torrent next turn to get there in what is already 2 overload. So Monsanto's only going to have 5 mana to respond. Oh yeah.
Yeah, some big plays coming up for Baby Bear. Monsanto, though, has a wealth of options going into the next few turns.
He does.
The ultimate
Note
puzzle.
Taker plus Torrent. You can go Note Taker, Torrent the 5/5, and then I guess Overdraft plus Torrent on the 6/7 to kill off the Divine Shield and then the minion.
Okay.
How much mana would you have left over then? 2? At which point you can just trade the Guild Trader, I guess. Maybe you'd bolt the Samuro first along the way there just to spend your mana a little better.
Looks like his eyes could be on that play just because trade the Guild Trader first to see if that changes anything.
Yeah.
And then could still do it because the Lightning Bolt would forward extra mana.
Yeah, he's going for it. It's just a slightly optimized version of what I was suggesting, starting with the trade first, obviously to see if you get any better options. Maybe a Perpetual Flame could have smoothed things out a little more, but I don't think so. I think this was always the strongest play. And it means that Monsanto's back in this for the moment. He's cleared the board almost completely, leading into approaching his Brucan turns. And so what Baby Bear needs to do, of course, is start ratcheting up the pressure as quick as she can in order to make sure that Brucan is not playable, which she can do. Libram a Hope on this turn. Oh, gorgeous. Just make sure you target the minion.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess. It's like a weird play you could do with, like, trade the Knight of Anointment, play the Squawker, then Libram it, and then Devout Pupil, like for the most spread out stats on the board, right?
That's true, yeah.
But being able to Libram of Hope with the Squawker, I think, is much better.
I agree. J'agree.
Absolutely correct. We all know that the French word for agree is agree.
Oh, apologies. J'arrête.
Here we go. Or d'accord.
Mais oui.
Oh.
Alright, Monsanto obviously just gearing up for that Brucan, closer and closer, but still very few Overload cards actually in hand. He has to settle for the 6 mana on Runic Carvings, which gives him the clear, but means that Brucan is still a little awkward going into next turn, because I believe now he's overloaded for 2 with the Zapper plus the 3, sorry, even with the 2 from the Carvings and the 1 from the Zapper, which means Brucan plus the Charged Call is not going to be available next turn. So Monsanto is probably going to have to take his foot off the pedal at least for a turn before he goes with the double Charged Call. And that, again, is where Baby Bear needs to pounce. Ratchet up the pressure, get another 8/8 taunt, get down the Devout Pupil as well, force Monsanto to go for a play that isn't Brucan. And I think this pressure that she's representing is enough to force him off the power play.
Yeah. I don't think it's representing a 2-turn, right? This would be 15 plus this Devout Pupil, which is the not buffed one that was already played.
Right.
So, not quite. Lady Liadrin would be what? 4 Librams? I mean, it's close.
More than that at this point, right? With, I guess, yeah.
5 maybe?
15,
Plus a
20.
hope.
Yeah, it's probably not lethal, is it?
No.
But can you really afford to play Brucan if you're going to tank like 23, 24 damage next turn? That's so brave. But maybe you just do. I think he's doing it. I think he's just going to tank the damage. So what is this? 20 guaranteed. And Lady Liadrin representing, I don't know how much, but quite a lot in addition.
I would say 5.
Okay, that sounds reasonable.
If you trade, I mean, if you're gonna play variant, right? You could trade city tax anyway, because if it is 5 and you trade and find the second natural Libram, then it would be lethal. But I'm not confident in how many Librams I've played, so it looks like she's just gonna trade after because she is limited on actual draws from the deck, and she doesn't want to pick this up. I think the Caro Rome is the last Divine Shield minion.
I think so, right? Both devout pupils.
Yeah, so she wouldn't want to trade the city tax and potentially hit that and not get the draw out of the deck. Or maybe just wants to hold on to it in general, but I don't really see her. Maybe
it's good with Barrow
in hand,
turn, right?
Yeah. You know, yeah.
永远不要畏惧。
Yeah, I like holding on to it. And here Monsanto doesn't even trust the charged call to get the job done. So he's starting off with the Fireheart, and right out the gate, it's okay as an option here to just heal up for 8. But it's very expensive 3 mana on this turn. And so are these. I think you just have to deviate and go charged call, right?
Yeah.
You can trade first if you want to.
Don't think anything changes the play at that point, but you might as well if you're planning on doing it anyway. I guess play a different one, sure.
I mean, if you go hair, you need another hair, or a... I guess you could take the rush from the Goldshire Knoll to kill off the Divine Shield, and then of course, because of very nice positioning, maybe that's only killing off the 1/1, the Divine Shield's still intact. This is never lethal this turn, right, for Baby Bear. There's just not enough room in hand, even if there were enough Librams off the Lady Liadrin.
Yeah.
Which is a huge deal for Baby Bear, as powerful as this turn can be by, I don't know, drawing another Libram of Hope, making a whole bunch of buffs, going face with everything. It's definitely not winning.
为了联盟，为了我的家。
And this is kind of the awkward part for Libram Paladin, right? Like just trying to find that finishing damage. We've seen this time and time again with Brucon Online and a lot of mana crystals available to Monsanto next turn. It's likely he'll be able to find some way to stabilize. Full 10, no overload last turn, so...
Alright, starting off with the charged call. Again, great positioning by Baby Bear to play around the hair. Means that only 2 minions at a time can die. It feels like you're probably still supposed to take it for Monsanto. He agrees. The second one, though... I mean, yeah, you kind of just want to go again, right? You can take a 10-10, but they actually have quite a few clears as the Paladin. I almost feel like it's more worth it to just go for board clears than summoning a 10-10, but whatever, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being too generous to Paladin's clearing potential, because this is still pretty good.
Yeah. So you can Lightning Bolt the Devout Pupil, or Storm Strike the Devout Pupil, Canal Slogger.
Yeah. And then you probably actually just have to send the 6 damage into a minion. I think it's too scary to leave something on board for Lady Liadrin to buff up once those Librams start coming back to hand. So as sad as it is to send 6 into a 1-drop, I very much respect this line from Monsanto.
Yep. 6 10-10 on board, has Wind Fury available in hand.
Oh yeah.
Actually, that's just lethal from hand if Baby Bear doesn't find a way. That's a full 30.
It is. Just straight up.
Yeah. So Baby Bear would have to get enough Librams and rush it in?
千万别把自
Or
己
just
barrel.
clear with the barrel up, yeah, after seeing double charge call. The one, yeah, the Storm Strike was the Charge Fireheart. So.
毒手，我快等不及了。
立即行动。
Okay. Baby Bear still has Lady Leandrin, so not out of threats. But the value for Monsanto is just going to be through the roof from this stage forward. Doesn't really have any resource generation for the time being, but every spell is just so impactful. Well, except for Wind Fury. Every other spell is just so impactful.
I mean, you could go Rushing Totem, Wind Fury to kill off a 1-1 with a value trade, and then attack into the barrel, which would kill the 1-1 anyway when it dies. So, not completely useless, TJ.
Okay. Fair point.
Not really, but either way, for Monsanto now, he's starting to run out of that value, right? His plays are getting more and more lackluster, even with doubling down on the spells that are played, obviously. He can fill up the board here, great. It's, what, like 10 damage represented here, a little bit over. But even then, that just doesn't feel efficient enough to take down Paladin. You need to be summoning the huge boards with multiple charge calls, multiple guidances for extra value, Fireheart as well to generate infinite value. And right here for Baby Bear, this damage on board, it's fine. You can tank this, no worries. You just need to be able to get yourself Libram of Hope into more Librams of Hope with the Parrot as well.
我想。报告。
沙塔斯不会白白陷落。
This is a lot of Librams. Doesn't get a hope back.
Oh, okay.
Are you ever supposed to just play the Lady Leandrin? Nah, because I guess
She had 2
it
Librams.
muddies
in
the
hand.
pool, but there's 2 Librams in hand, so you get 2 less spells back.
Yeah.
I guess it still does depend on, though, like, if you absolutely think that you sacrifice some Libra of Wisdoms to guarantee that you get a Libra of Hope, but at that point I think there was enough played to where it wouldn't even be guaranteeing that a Libra of Hope can even go in hand, so this is just more efficient overall.
Yeah, the only way to get herself a higher chance of getting Libram of Hope was to start with Broom and then buff that, but obviously buffing Broom kind of sucks because then you can't rush your Leandrin or the 1-1 in from hero power. So I respect Baby Bear's play. Didn't work out, of course, because she missed on the Hope, but it's not too big of a deal. She can still get a very, very sizable board every turn from here on in with the infinite Librams of Wisdom, it feels like. And with Monsanto getting an absolutely horrendous draw in the Lightning Bloom, he's going to have to now rely on, I guess, clearing this off with as many rushing totems as he can.
It's a lot of them.
Okay. It didn't have the green border around them for a second, and I got scared, but obviously it's on the...
It didn't last. It didn't
opponent's
last time
side.
either.
Yeah,
I just saw the red arrows. The only way I knew that it was actually played in rush.
Ooh, that's a bad overdraw, to be fair, for Baby Bear. Monsanto will be
Yep.
very, very happy to see that.
报告。
Okay, extra Divine Shield rather than extra Libram, that's smart. It's an incredibly sticky board now. And now for
Yeah,
Monsanto,
well-
there's obviously a couple of cards that can put him far into the lead. If he can generate Devolving Missiles or Revolve, then all of this value that Baby Bear has generated just disappears in a heartbeat. But he needs it right now, because he's just dead on the following turn if he doesn't find some way to generate extra value, which means this final draw for Monsanto could be the difference between clean sweeping or dying. That is a multicaster off the top, a fantastic draw that gives him plenty of options, but a little light on mana. He still needs to generate these answers to clear the board, and Guidance is the perfect way to try and find that answer.
Yeah, the problem that this could present though is that
Oh!
if he has to devolving missiles.
Oh!
Oh, if this hits both, the game just ends. Yeah.
Oh no, baby bear, that's so unfortunate. I mean, it had to be like 0. whatever % to miss 6 times in a row, but
Yeah.
oh.
That was brutal.
Yeah, Monsanto clapping himself there, smiling to himself, giving himself a little victory smile as a reward.
Okay, you can smile now.
Think it's just over. Trade into
Yeah.
Libram of Hope is the best that you've got, but then Baby Bear is just out of value. There's nothing left.
Yeah, only 4 cards left, and there is... I don't even know anymore. Not much.
Not much at all. And just infinity value now for Monsanto. Being able to go double Steward of Scrolls off of the Primordial Studies. He's just toying with Baby Bear now. Like, he's literally going to overdraw a card here if he doesn't go for the Lightning Bloom first. Honestly, one of them is the Baton Riders and double, but
Yeah.
either way.
Gonna play it out all the way since this is match point for Americas. Libram of Justice, sure. But this is just the victory march for Monsanto. Still not any direct damage in hand, which is
It's unbelievable.
all these discovered spells, none of them actually just deal damage.
Like, whenever the Shaman, a quest Shaman has quest completed and 10 cards in hand, you are dead. It's just a law of Hearthstone, and yet somehow Baby Bear is still surviving it. I think this is like last card, Libram of Hope, right? Because she's only played 1 so far, but understandably, she doesn't even want to play it out. It literally does not matter. It was always just dead on board, and then she dies to fatigue. Monsanto coming through again, TJ, with a 3-0 sweep, a wry smirk at the end of it all. He has done his job. Now we are guaranteed to go to Battlegrounds with, at best, a 1-3 score, or a 3-1 score, sorry, for Europe if they win both their Mercenaries matches, which means it's not over, and the BG squad can come in and do what they seem to do best. So the pressure, all of a sudden, riding up once again for both Mercenaries and especially the EU Battleground squad.
Yeah, certainly possible for anything to happen at this point, right? It's everything that happened in the round robin, we can kind of throw out, you know, use as historical evidence, but I mean, this is literally as close as it can get. This is the only outcome that makes it so this entire cast is completely invalidated. We can forget that it ever happened. 1-1 is essentially 0-0 as far as I'm concerned.
Well, wasn't that fun then, TJ?
Yeah.
Good
All
games
right,
at least.
well, yeah, some good games. Quest Shaman once again proving to be the deck of the tournament. I'm still waiting for a team, and maybe we'll see it happen in the first place match that happens later on in the day, to try and go for something a little different, right? But it just doesn't seem super feasible at this stage with just the options that the players have available to them.
And I think if I'm seeing this correctly here, Tony's telling us that in the 3 matches that America's won in Constructed so far, Monsanto swept 2 of them and went 2-0 in the others. So Monsanto is just dragging the rest of the squad up on his shoulders, it feels like here. You know, I mean, Nayara, as I've said multiple times, like, for the vast majority of her games, has just had non-games. It's been incredibly unlucky for her. And, you know, if you were to give her Quest Shaman, I imagine she would have done a very good job in her own right. Like, it's not just strong play from Monsanto. It's being given the best deck as well. And Nalgadan has done a decent job, I think, himself on the Paladin mostly. But in the end, Monsanto, Quest Shaman, both looking unbelievably powerful as we head over to Mercenaries for our next game mode to be played out between Luna, Frozen, Tice, and Hunter Ace, I think, for our squad of Mercenaries players.
Yeah, and Derek, I know that you just happen to be our resident Mercenaries expert.
Oh,
I know
yeah.
that you were initially chosen to be just the sole representative for Europe because you're so good. You count as 2 players. So give me a little insight into what we should expect coming up for Mercenaries.
Well, I think Ragnaros shoots fireballs, and Ken and Diablo good. Nerfed though, fixed. 50-50s starting queue order. Time your stomp correctly.
Wow,
So,
well
yeah.
said. Literally couldn't have said it better myself. Well done, Derek. But Derek and I are done for now. We'll return later on for the constructed coverage in the finals, where China awaits to see who's going to win this second, third place match. But we do have Mercenaries coming up, and before we jump into that, we are going to go to a quick break. But don't go anywhere. Plenty more action here on the final day of the Hearthstone Global Invitational. Don't go anywhere.